Hi, hey everyone. Welcome. Welcome. So I know that parenting, which is the topic I love, and relationships, spouses, like brings up everything we can imagine, right? Like parenting typically triggers our whole childhood trauma or hard things that have happened throughout our childhood that have not healed yet. Relationships, hi Selena. Relationships with spouses can do the same thing, and especially when children are around, it intensifies what's happening. And so I just wanted to talk about, I had this amazing consultation this morning, and I wanted to talk about how when our kids are teens, especially, like this could be the case. I see this with parents at all ages and stages of life. It's so good to see you, Selena. And as a mother, society does not value us. You know, women in general are lower on the pecking order from social viewpoint. Totally not true. Like it shouldn't be the case, but it is the case. So what happens in parenting is that children, because their limbic brains are connected to our limbic brains, they sense our lower status. They sense our uncertainty. They sense our, hey, Becky. They sense our, feeling insecure. They sense our uncertainty. And, I don't think anyone goes into parenting feeling certain, right? We didn't have a manual. We don't have training. We don't know what to do. And so, hey, Sarah, happy Saturday. So we have these experiences as adults with our kids that our kids can sense all these things within us, and they're not sensing our surety about ourselves and our power and stepping into our power. And actually, sometimes with parents, what I see is over the years, it gets worse. That by the time your kids are teens, and what happens is like with their brain development, and with the way our society is structured, it's very common that teens become, really assertive, even aggressive. They're saying mean things. They're disrespectful. It's a part natural, but part too, just because our society, how we're structured as small families, not as societies together and having community. And because women are not valued in our culture, and we are also the safe people typically in the relationship. And so children naturally turn their anger towards the mother. And this happens especially with girls. That anger gets directed to the mother. And so I think it's just important for us to, and I was working with this mother on how to work with that. And one of the things that we talked about was this need for us, thank you, Selena, this need for us to, as women, as mothers, to work on being absolutely sure in our power, being absolutely sure of our worth. Because girls, and it can be boys too, but because if they're not feeling our strong sense of worth, it actually causes them to be even more forceful towards us and aim more anger towards us. And I will say that teens have a lot to be angry at. That's a whole other talk, but like think of it as their brains, because of brain development, they're awakening to a whole new world and how the world works in a more real way. And so much in our world does not make sense. How we're destroying our environment and the way people are treated, and sexism and racism and all these things. To wake up to that when your brain is entering this new phase of development can create a lot of anger for a teen. And if that anger is directed at the mom, then that's hard. And in fact, too, like I'm a single parent, so my kids never, ever, ever see somebody compliment me. I mean, it's pretty rare. Or somebody stand up for me, I should say. They actually do see quite often people compliment me. but they don't oftentimes see somebody stand up for me or say, wow, you are, a powerful woman, or you're amazing. And so one of the ways that I said it today was, I have to hold that for myself. I have to hold that I am freaking amazing, that I am powerful, that I am strong, that I have huge value, because there's nobody else in my family that will hold that. And that is actually my job as a mother and as a woman, is to be unflappable, to be unstoppable, to be unshakable in my belief that I am good, that I am strong, that I am worthy, that I am powerful. And even if you're in a relationship and you have a parenting partner, oftentimes in our culture, especially in Western cultures, people don't sit around and tell everyone these things. Like, these aren't things that they don't, sit at the family dinner table and say, wow, your strength and beauty is something beyond anything I've ever seen. Like, that just doesn't happen. So even if you're with a parenting partner, however that looks, they may not be holding that for you as well. And so you might need to hold that for the entire family. This is good for our kids, that you can do this. It is hard work, especially if you're being attacked by not necessarily attacked, but if, there's been challenges in your relationship. Hi, Tamar. Or if and if your teens have a pattern or a habit of like criticizing the mother, or there's been ways that the mother has been cut down in the family because her value of the things that she does isn't, high value. And so, this is such important work, and it's regular work. This isn't something that you go to a retreat and you get fixed, for example. And there's nothing wrong with you anyway. This is just a series of, and let me know if this resonates with you. Like, is this hard for you to do? Is this something that you do work on? I would love to get your response to this. So, but it is something that's a regular practice. It needs to be a regular practice. And there's things, thanks for the love, Selena. And there's programs that you can do. There, I have some things that I do regularly to work on this very specifically, to stay in my power. And it doesn't mean I'm dominating my kids. It doesn't mean that. It's not that kind of power. It's the power of surety, the power of belief, and the power of certainty that I am the person who holds the family together, and that my role is important, and that everything I do has value, and everything that I do is important. And so, Selena, I need to do it more. Yeah, it's, it's important to do when your kids are young. But what I see in my own experiences now that my kids are teens is like, it's even more important. And the work that I did years ago is showing up now and in a really wonderful, supportive way for me. And so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you, and the importance of us standing in an unstoppable way in our truth of who we are, and just really not letting anything shake that. It has to be unshakable. It has to be unflappable. And for us to really, like, as a mother, and especially if there's the mother-daughter conflict that can happen, right? And that can really show up in teen years. And so, hi, Rowena. And it's good for our girls to see this. It's so healthy for them to see this, to be able to see mothers being certain and sure about themselves and knowing their value and knowing their worth, especially when they're going through challenging times and they're creating their identity. That's the time in the teen years, especially, 13 to 17, where they're creating their identity. And so to see that in us is huge. And to have these interactions, even if they're hard interactions, I get that that's not going to necessarily change the interactions. it will change the impact of the interactions to the child. And that's what's more important. And so I would love to hear what Selena says. Sometimes I feel like I should show them that their words hurt me. Do you think we should do that? I don't think so, but I find it hard not to. So it's a great question. And I would say that it depends, of course. It depends on how often that happens. Like if it's a pattern that a child is stuck on, then I do think there are good ways that you can do that. And it might look something like, ouch, that hurt, without falling apart, right? Without having them take responsibility for our feelings, because we don't want to do that to our kids. That's not a healthy way to do it. So, but something like that is just basically communicating to them that that was hurtful to you. And I think that's fine. If it's an occasional thing, then I don't think that that's such a big deal to like make sure that they see that. But yeah, bringing it up sometimes I think is an okay thing to do in a neutral way, not in a sticky, heavy way. Big difference. So, and your question brings up this idea that kids are going to say hurtful things. Kids are going to say disrespectful things. There are times when you need to set a limit around that, especially with teens. But there are also lots of times where you're just going to have to let it ride because because this is how teens offload their tension. This is how teens offload their hurts. And this is a whole other conversation. This is how they offload these things. And again, there's lots of harshness in the world that they are waking up to. So they're going to have this. And it's actually, it tells me that the teen trusts you when they can offload this kind of hurt and tension to you. But it's going to feel like an attack. And sometimes it even feels like abuse. And this is another reason why we need to stay in our power and know that this has nothing to do with you. And it has everything to do with how the teen is feeling and how awful those feelings are and how big the hurt is. Again, that's a whole other talk, but it's related to this one in terms of us staying in our power and why that's important. And so when a teen does that and they have the experience of we are unstoppable and unflappable in our power, but we can also hold their hurt, that's when healing happens. So even if their hurt is saying hurtful things or disrespectful things, that can actually heal the child when we are absolutely certain it has nothing to do with us, but we can hold it for them. It's a beautiful process that can happen. And we need to stay strong in who we are. And that is a life's work. It is a work that takes, 20 years to work on while we have our kids. But it's so worthwhile because when we come out of that, like my greatest growth for sure has been through my kids. And when we come out of that, we are so much stronger, so much bigger, so much more capable, and our hearts are strong and supportive and amazing. And so I want that for every mother. And this is a huge, huge thing, especially when our kids are teens. And so I just wanted to share that with you today because our power as women is essential and it's a big part of us, and we tend to squash it. We tend to hide it. We tend to just push it down because we have so many things to do all the time and we're supporting so many other people and our needs become last. And so that's a whole other thing in terms of, yes, we need to elevate the priority of our own needs. And that would be part of this as well. And that I've certainly, especially in the last several months, really worked hard to make that happen. And it's been a beautiful process too. So, women of the world, mothers of the world, I would love to hear what you have to say about this and how this process works for you. And if you're able to get into your power as a mother, and again, this does not mean dominating. It just means knowing your worth and having that self-love for yourself and compassion, and that you are unflappable in your belief in yourself. So thank you so much, and I hope that this was helpful to you. And thank you so much for joining me. I would love to know your thoughts, and I hope you have a beautiful, amazing day. All right, bye-bye.